What is up, Los Angeles, and welcome back to your Rams LAFB show. I am your host, Ryan Anderson, today with a very special guest. I'm super happy to have him. I've been trying to track him down for a couple years. He joined us over there on Super Bowl Radio Row, maybe Vegas, maybe Arizona. We can't really remember. We were having a discussion about how to best recover from hangovers. But my
man,
like
water.
Water, that's a help for sure. My man, Cameron Lynch, former Ram himself. How we doing today? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. It's great to be at LAFB. Man, I'm looking forward to Super Bowl this year as well. I know we met previously at Super Bowl, like I said, maybe Vegas, maybe Arizona. I'm not sure, but excited to run it back. And yeah, all is well. Got a game today. Rams are playing the Seahawks, so looking forward to that one. Man, and yeah, we're in Los Angeles at the end of the day. I'm in Los Angeles, so it's 70 out. Can't complain too much.
Yeah, it's going to be a little different story up there in Seattle in just over 3 hours, for just under 2.5 hours from now. It's going to be rainy. It's going to be a wet day for sure. But
I'm thinking run the ball. As soon as you said that, I'm like, Rams, run the ball. Blake Corum, Kyrie Williams, run the ball.
100%. I think they actually have the edge there. You know, the Seattle's run offense is not churning along as much as their offense is. You mentioned the Super Bowl. I mean, a lot of people are talking top pick for the Super Bowl, Los Angeles Rams right now. It wasn't the case heading into the season. Just what's from your perspective, what have you seen from this team that has made them special and front runners for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, I think setting aside Aaron Donald, this could be the best Rams team that we've seen in a while. I'm not gonna lie, I was with the Rams in 2015, so started in St. Louis and then made our way to LA and then started picking up steam. But I think one of the better Rams teams that we've seen. I think the second piece to that is the offensive line is healthy. When you got a healthy offensive line, you can make things happen. Because if you kind of rewind a couple of years ago, as after that Super Bowl, we would change out our offensive line, right? We have different combinations. People get hurt. And I think the Harbaugh brother said it at the Chargers. He was like, one group on the team that everyone has to rely on is the offensive line. If the offensive line isn't healthy, quarterback screwed, you can't run the ball, and then you're off the field a little bit quicker. So that means your defense is on the field. So with the Rams O-line being healthy, given the Robert Havenstein and all that, and Alaric Jackson, but the fact that they've been healthy, that's the biggest, relief there. And then of course Matthew Stafford cooking the way he's doing it. And then Chris Shula, just the way that defense is clicking on that side, given Aaron Donald has made his departure and him able to turn things around with the guys up front and on the back end. It's been impressive. And as a Rams fan, the fact that we're doing as well as we're doing, it's a relief. And I'm kind of shocked, to be honest. I'm like, wait, when is this going to change? And when is this going to flip? But it's been nice so far.
Yeah, just from your perspective on Chris Shula, I mean, he's risen up the ranks. Talk about a dark horse who's come out of nowhere to become one of the top, candidates for a head coaching position. What are you seeing that is making him just pop this year?
Yeah. It's almost like the tip of the iceberg concept, right? It's like we're seeing the top of the iceberg. We're seeing the defense be top 10 or top 5 really in every category. But I think the breadth of work that he's been doing previous to that. When I was with the Rams in I think it was 18, I came back when we played against the Eagles. And Carson Wentz, it was that game when he got hurt, unfortunately, but that was the week that I got back. And I met Chris Shula then, and he was not the linebacker coach. He was not the defensive coordinator. He was like the assistant linebacker coach. It was Joe Barry was my linebacker coach, and then son of a bum, he was our defensive coordinator. So he was being of service at that time. And I'd imagine when he was a young boy with his grandpa and his family, I imagine he was just putting in his time, building up that iceberg to where now we're seeing a masterpiece in what he's being able to put together. So Chris Shula, he's come a long way. He's a great guy. And I just hope he stays a little bit longer at the Rams, right? You think about the Chiefs and just the run that they've had, not anymore, not future. But I just think about Spags being on that coaching staff, right? Coach Spagnolia and Andy Reid just sticking together. And I think if Chris Shula sticks together, I think the Rams could keep this thing moving along as long as Matthew Stafford is healthy. And it seems like he's the healthiest he's been his whole career. So
Yeah, since before the season, I've been saying Matthew Stafford is the Super Bowl window. You know,
Uh,
they have nothing solidified right now at quarterback beyond that. That's a conversation for a different day for sure. We don't have to talk about that now. We're on
right.
a high heading into a rivalry week. I think, iceberg is probably the best way to describe Chris Shula, having interviewed him a few times, standing in front of him. He's not showing his cards. I don't know if he thinks I'm stupid or if he thinks I'm the smartest guy in the world all at the same time. I don't know. He plays his cards pretty close to his chest on a lot of things. So
Yeah,
I
that's
like
smart.
the description.
Yeah, he doesn't really give you any like much ammo. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I see the chink in the armor there or over there. He's just kind of like well rounded. Yeah, and he's sharp, man. He's a sharp guy. He's a young coach, and I know there's different teams that need a head coach right now, but I just want him to hang on a little bit longer because how much better can you get, right? I think if we get some defensive backs back there, and to firm up some of those cornerback positions, I think even it will be even more dangerous next year if Matthew Stafford stays.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right because you look at what the team would need heading into the next season, assuming that Matthew Stafford decides to stick around for another year. It's his choice, obviously. That his contract doesn't say he's going to be around next year, but you look heading into the draft. What do they need? Well, it looks like they got a pretty good right tackle if they want to move on from Rob Havenstein.
Mhm.
Obviously, Puka Nakua's young. Davantae says he wants to come back.
Hmm.
Um, Higby Higby may be leaving, but
Yeah, because Kobe.
they got three
Yeah,
guys there. So you tack on maybe some cornerbacks. Um, I don't even know what else. Maybe go after another wide receiver.
yeah,
Um, it
yeah.
becomes kind of a luxury. So we could be looking at an interesting couple of years here. Anyway, yeah, I mentioned
Agreed.
already. This is a big rivalry game. You spent some time in the NFL, Tampa Bay Rams, also with Syracuse. Lots of college football rivalries are the cream of the crop, some of the best out
Yes,
there. So we got Jared Verse out here saying this is Seattle Rams is the biggest rivalry for him. And we got
yes.
Sam Darnold on the other side saying, this is just another opponent for me. We'll just take this a day at a time. We'll get to Sam Darnold in a little bit, but just talk about rivalry games and what in the building, in your head, other guys talking, bulletin board material. What's all that like as a player?
Yeah, it gets spicy because rivalry games doesn't matter if the team is excellent like the Seattle Seahawks are now or if they're trash that year, right? Because that team could level up and then beat you. So when I was at the Buccaneers, didn't like the Saints at all, didn't like the Saints, and so the Saints with Tyler Shuck just beat the Buccaneers just a couple weeks ago, and you're like, wait, what's going on here? But everyone turns up the dial just a little bit. The chefs in the kitchen, the chiropractors, the
Wow.
trainers, everybody just cranks it up a little bit, and so that's really important. And then also when it comes to the division, they're worth two. I think that's really really important to call out. And so and we're talking about the Seattle Seahawks, but hey, how about the Philadelphia Eagles, right? You talk about the GM rivalry, right? When it comes
Yeah.
to the GM over there in Philly, and then with the Rams, I think that's the best. Howie Roseman, the best GMs I think in the league, and they battle. I feel like when it comes to players, when it comes to bringing in free agents, and so. And of course, we lost to the Eagles, which hurt really bad. But
Yeah.
I would say that the rivalry weekends, the rivalry weeks, they get tough, especially if it's a Thursday night game after playing smacking the Lions recently. Thankfully, the Rams beat the Cardinals and we were able to rest in that third quarter, I would say. But the rivalry weekends are very tough. There's a little bit more on the line, but at the end of the day, too, it's just a game as well. And so you kind of prepare like you would for anyone else, but you buckle the chin strap just a little bit tighter that rivalry week.
Yeah. Well, going back to your college days, West Virginia is a big one. Pitt is a big one. We know
Yes,
some. We know a graduate of the University of Pittsburgh there. Um,
absolutely.
Aaron Donald. Go back then, and what was it like then? Obviously, you don't have as many chefs or chiropractors, but the chin straps are a little different. The locker
Yeah,
rooms are a little different. What
yeah.
was that like?
Yeah, that was insane. I actually one of my roommates, it was an offensive lineman, one of my best friends, offensive lineman as well, and they would just talk about how with Aaron Donald, how he would wreck just your whole thought of winning. If you thought you were going to win, he just dominates it. I'll never forget. he blocked not only he had a couple sacks when we played against him. He was forcing pressures, forcing all type of havoc in the backfield, but then he blocked a field goal for us to win the game. And so I think they had like Tommy Savage back then. He was their quarterback. And they weren't the best, but they had Aaron Donald. And so they just made it a nightmare for our offensive lineman. One of our offensive linemen, Amari Palmer, he's a wrestler now. And he has nightmares still to this day from playing against Aaron Donald. So that rivalry is deep, I would say, in the West Virginia as well. West Virginia guys, even when I played in the NFL, I'll see a West Virginia guy and I'll talk smack because we beat them in the Pinstripe Bowl when Geno Smith played there. They had Tavon Austin and Stedman Bailey, and we were able to go toe-to-toe with those guys. So when it comes to rivalries, I know when I'm in the locker room, I know who to talk smack to and who not to, because whenever I see a Florida State alumni like a Jameis coming by, I shut my mouth because they played hangman against us on the sideline when they were beating us like 40-3. So there's just certain people you talk smack to, certain people you don't. But when it comes to a rivalry weekend, the smack talk is all the way up.
Okay, you see a guy, you see him, and you're like, who's the guy that you're gonna like lay into? Who you mentioned Jameis? Who's the guy that you're gonna say some stuff to?
Yeah. So goes to the Buccaneers. Keith Tandy. He's actually a DB coach there now at the Buccaneers, but he played at West Virginia when I was there. And so anytime I see Keith in West Virginia college football playing, I'm talking smack to Keith. And Syracuse, we might be 3-6. Like we might not have won any games that year, but when it comes to West Virginia or one of those teams that we beat, just know I'm coming with the smoke. But Florida State with Jameis and those guys, I head the other direction. I don't want any problems.
Well, you talked a bit about the mental edge that maybe Aaron Donald beat Syracuse before they even hit the field. I think the Rams have a big mental edge heading into this one. I mean, we watched Sam Darnold, heading into that last game. Sam Darnold was, there's some MVP talk around him. The EPA per play, the success rate, the DVOA of that offense was humming, and he played a good game, except for 4 interceptions, and you kind of watched him crumble. I watched it on TV. You've been in games with quarterbacks where quarterbacks have inevitably given up the game. What's it like, standing across from a quarterback, have you seen something click in them? Have you seen them fold? What is that like? What does it feel like as a defender?
Yeah, I mean, you love to see it as a defender because you of course won the game. It's almost like playing with like a younger sibling. And like you just sit on them and you just lay on them and they just kind of like, all right, I'm tapping out. When it comes to Sam Darnold, even if you look at that Colts game, they were hitting Sam. I mean, they hit Sam one time and he fumbled the ball and he laid on the ground for a little bit. And I was like, oh, he's out of it a little bit. And so I think when it comes to, it's like a heavyweight fight almost. And Sam Darnold, he's a heavyweight fighter, but I think when you get a couple licks on him, maybe on the chin or maybe on the temple, he will lay down. And you think about that Rams game, we had 4 interceptions. I don't know if it was the black jerseys and he couldn't see us or what, but the defensive backs had a field day. And I'd imagine this week they're talking about ball security, right? It's raining outside. Let's have a run game going. Let's get some bootleg action. Let's get some play action going. But let's take care of this football because even though they turned the ball over, they were in that game. So you think about, you go on the other side, you go to Matthew Stafford. Matthew has to take care of the football as well. He's been doing great all this year. And then there was one game, I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago, where he threw the Panthers game. Yeah. I mean, when you have a great running game, Chuba Hubbard and I can't think of the other player's name, but Chuba Hubbard, he was running the ball extremely well, and those defensive backs turn the ball over. And so when you get that recipe, it's going to be a long day. Oh, Rico Dowdle, that's his name. Rico Dowdle was the other back, but Chuba Hubbard, he was the premier back that day. And when you get that recipe of a good run game and you create some turnovers, it's going to be a long day for any quarterback. So I think that's going to be the recipe for both teams, really, is run the ball extremely well, which Blake Corum has been doing at a great clip these past 2 to 3 weeks, and then force turnovers. I think that'll be the key to victory.
Yeah, 100%. And, I've always wondered, about, going back to that Carolina Panthers game plan. I call it the Canales plan. I think I've talked to every guest about it, just trying to understand. They ran the ball 40 times in that game, threw the ball 20 times, and they were just able to just like drop it in there to Tedero McMillan, to Coker, had the defense, keep them honest, keep them up towards the line of scrimmage, and then just pop them with an explosive occasionally. And I don't know I don't know how many teams out there can play that disciplined. It's not like they were running the ball down their throats. It's not like they were popping big gains. I mean, they got the one. They were settling for 3-4 yard gains over and over again. And, the Rams secondary is I mentioned cornerbacks already. I feel, Quentin Lake's been out since the last game, the last Seattle game.
Yeah.
What did you see from him? And, Josh Wallace has kind of stepped into his role a bit, former UDFA out of Michigan, elevated to a high role now. Are they really missing him, or is it just something else on the defense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I know I always bring up Emmanuel Forbes, so pretty much any show I do, I'm like, Emmanuel got beat on this play. I think it was a Cardinals game into that third quarter. Michael Wilson had a touchdown, explosive, and we were up by like 20. And I was like, okay, are we going to see Jimmy G? What does that look like? And then Emmanuel gave up that touchdown. So I'm like, damn, like, are the guys not going to sit now because he gave this touchdown? So what I will say is it's a communication piece at the end of the day. Communication is important. Quentin Lake communicates at a high level. I know he does podcasts. I know he does different things. So if he communicates well off the field, I'd imagine he does the same thing on the field. That, and then of course just his productivity and his size. He's able to make tackles. He's able to cover. He's able to be a Swiss Army knife. He could probably play special teams if you needed him to. So I think just the leadership component, the communication component, and the playmaking ability is what the Rams are missing. One thing I will say though is with Chris Shula, he's found ways to cover that up and found ways to make use of the players that are in when he's out. And so they are missing a Quentin Lake, but I think what makes teams really good is the system versus the players sometimes. When you have a good system, when everyone's communicating at a high level, you can still operate if you have one or two pieces out. But that defensive back room, Cam Curl has been crushing it this year. You got some guys that are really stepping up, but I think next year and even going to the playoffs, you just want to see them just turn up the notch just a little bit, because when you play these, I'm thinking about it, Rams, Bills Super Bowl, right? You got Josh Allen coming into town, or if that's the case, how are you going to cover these receivers? How are you going to stop the running back and Cook? And then how are you going to stop Josh Allen? And so you're going to need not only your starters to do that, but also your bench to be strong and make plays. So yeah, it's an uphill battle. I mean, I think after this game, I think we'll be good for these next 2 weeks. But once that playoff hits, hope we get Quentin Lake back, and hopefully we get Davantae Adams back.
Yeah, we haven't really touched on Davantae Adams much. I mean, what are your thoughts? Probably not going to be play, maybe in uniform, maybe to decoy and maybe roll him out there on the red zone, just to fool everybody. But I mean, how does that change the offense?
Yeah, I think the red zone specifically, that's where Davantae is just automatic almost. I think it was the last game. I think Matthew missed him a couple of times. He threw a ball a little high when he tried to get to Davantae. But my answer right now is Colby Parkinson. He scored in the past 6 games or so. He's been dynamic in the red zone. So I think you now look to Puka and you look to Colby. And then I think you get Tutu Atwell going just a little bit more. Tutu's he's back healthy, he's back moving and grooving. So, and then you got some other young receivers in Xavier. So I think you get some of those deep threats going on. Of course, do what you've been doing with Puka Nacua. Make sure he stays off the streaming platforms. I know he was streaming with Aiden Ross, and that didn't go too well. But let's get Puka focused, especially as we get into the playoffs, get to the Super Bowl. Let's get refocused here, buddy, and make sure that he's healthy as well, because you got Davantae Adams go out. We don't want to overuse Puka where he's grabbing a hamstring or he's grabbing this or that. So I think you get your other receivers involved a little bit more. You get your 13 personnel. So I should have said that first. 13 personnel. Just go straight to 13, run the ball, and call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, the Seahawks play a tremendous amount of nickel personnel, and a lot of teams have to go heavy against the 13 personnel. They stuck with nickel last time around, and kind of forced them to play a little bit more 11, which hasn't been as functioning as well as it has in the past for this team. So, such an interesting chess match between these two young coaches. I mean, people are talking about Mike Macdonald as kind of the defensive equivalent to Sean McVay coming into as a head coach, such a young age, turning around his team super quickly. There's nothing but fun football to be played here. You played as a rival against Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
But you also played alongside Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
What stories and impact, did he have on the team and you, just with your time, couple games, couple years with him?
Yeah. It's been impressive. I always like to say he's the best player I've come across. And of course, Tom Brady as well. We played against Tom Brady when I was with the Buccaneers, but to be on the same team as Aaron was pretty wild. And people talk about his work ethic. One thing I will say is people don't talk enough about it are the times when we're supposed to be walk through and his hands are live, right? His feet may not be going as fast, but his hands are live. And so a lot of times, as rookies, we'll play on the scout team. So we got to do the scout team center, the scout team guard, and we have to get the looks for our defense for walkthrough. And a lot of times myself and Bryce Hager, we both got to the Rams at the same time, but multiple times we're getting hands in our chest, we're getting pushed back on the walkthrough, and then almost slung down where we're falling over ourselves. So with Aaron, he practices the way he plays, and so his hands are always live, his steps are always calculated, and then let alone practice. When he's going through practice, he's destroying everything that you can try to work on your offense. So it's been really, really impressive to play alongside him. And then, like I mentioned too before, playing against him when he was at Pitt, I mean, he was destroying everything that we were doing. So and then guys like Todd Gurley, you know what I mean? That was really, really cool to see, just going to the Rams, and you'll see Todd on the training table, and then you'll see him on TV at the same time. You're like, this is kind of crazy. So yeah, we've had some good experiences, at the Rams, and some good teammates that I played with. But Aaron, hands down the best one I played with and played against.
Yeah, I mean, you got to imagine his preparation in the offseason actually led to him having a shorter career, because how do you stay that invested over that many years? I can never remember who said it, but he said, yeah, you don't pay me to play the games, you pay me to prepare to play the games. You pay me for the offseason and all the practices and stuff like that. Paraphrase quote there, but
that's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. I got to get your opinion on a couple of Rams defenders before we get you out of here. I didn't prep you on this one, but Nate Landman.
Oh, yeah.
Linebacker. He comes in kind of out of nowhere, played some good football for the Falcons, but was essentially, he wasn't invited back to that team.
Yeah.
And then he ends up over here, in LA. What have you seen from him? And, have you seen a transition like that, before from any other player? I mean, going from kind of unknown to, Pro Bowl high voted.
Yeah. Okay. So the first person that popped to my mind, and I know we didn't prep for this before, Zach Bond. As soon as you were the transition to Pro Bowl, I'm like, oh, Zach Bond. Zach Bond went from the Saints to on the ball linebacker to off the ball linebacker, going to the Eagles. And at one point, we were like, whoa, if the trade deadline's coming up, you can't trade this guy because he's everywhere. He's not saying the MVP of the Super Bowl, but on defense, he was going crazy. So and that whole defensive line was crushing it at Super Bowl and for the Eagles. But Zach Bond is someone that's it's not very similar, but similar. I think Nate Landman takes the ball away better than most linebackers that I've seen in the game. It's similar to Davantae David. I played with Davantae David at the Buccaneers, and Davantae David was king of taking the ball away. I remember we were playing the Falcons, and Davantae was like, look, I'm about to go get the ball right now in this series because we need it, because we need to score. We're down X amount of points. And he'll go take the ball away, and then he'll come back. He's like, I told y'all, I did it. So I would do it. And so just to see that, I'd imagine, and Quan Alexander was really good at that too. I'd imagine Nate Landman is really preparing throughout the week, manifesting throughout the week that he's going to get the ball out. And so when you see it happen, it's not like, oh, it just happening. It's the iceberg concept where Quan Alexander told me, he's like, you got to dream about it. You got to manifest it. If you got to have a football in your, in your hotel room the night before, but just say it out loud that you're going to get the ball. And so the iceberg concept for Nate Landman is throughout the week, he's probably like, oh, I'm going to knock this ball out of whoever's, Zach Charbonnet's hand. He's gonna run to the right, and I'm gonna run to the left, and I'm gonna act like I'm, going to over pursue him. Then I'm gonna come back and punch the ball. Whatever that is, he's probably continuously telling himself throughout the week. And then come Thursday tonight, he makes it happen. He gets it done. But he's been really impressive to come to a team and become the captain. Like, it's a group of grown adults, and you're the leader of that that group of grown adults. Is daggone impressive. You mentioned Quentin Lake earlier. I talked about the leadership component. Well, you got a guy like Nate Landman in there who's going to really help fill that void. And so with Nate Landman, he's been a gem to this team, to the Rams community. And if we get to the Super Bowl, you got to say, hey, Chris Shula, good job of calling this defense. And then Nate Landman for being the center point of it and forcing turnovers, getting your guys going, and getting us to this point. So Matthew Stafford and Nate Landman, you got to give those guys, caps off, because they've been crushing it.
Yeah, it's been a huge focus for the Rams, just getting guys that can take the ball away, getting Cam Kinchins, who was a ball hawk out of Miami, and Jalen McCullough. I think they've talked about that as well. Jared Verse, obviously the pressures are tremendous. He is maybe pound for pound the strongest, fastest guy out there on the football field. Can make a lot of things happen. The sack numbers have not generated. Obviously, you're trying to disrupt the pocket. Pressure is going to affect the quarterback, period, hands down. But have you seen anything from his game that, is he over pursuing? Is he putting too much effort into, second down? We should be saving it for third down. Is there something he should be changing, or is he doing everything just A-okay?
Yeah, I think he's doing what he's supposed to do. I think when it comes to the sacks and the numbers and the glory, a lot of times you sacrifice things for that. Sometimes you sacrifice the system and the defense, the integrity of the defense, right? To get that sack, sometimes you might have to go inside of the tackle versus standing outside of the tackle. And, I think last year his sack numbers were decent. His pressure numbers were decent, but I think now he's playing within the integrity of the defense, and the defense is working versus him working and getting his sack numbers up. And so he's doing what he's supposed to do. Like I said, his pressures are up. He's probably drawing more double teams than other players. I know Byron Young is as well, but he's drawing more double teams. The backs are probably sliding his way. The tight ends are probably sliding his way. And so it's similar to Aaron Donald, right? There's certain things that you don't really see. And he's forcing, it's more of a psychological thing. He's forcing defensive coordinators to psychologically plan for him before the game happens. And that's draining after a while, because you're like, wait, what about Byron Young, or what about this guy or that guy? So he's bringing pressure to the game that people don't really realize. And he's staying within the system, Chris Shula's system. And I'm sure Chris Shula's like, hey, Byron, I know you want to lead the league in sacks. Myles Garrett has that right now, so don't worry about it. But we will get to the Super Bowl if you just do what I asked you to do. I'd imagine Chris Shula saying, just do what I asked you to do. We'll get to the Super Bowl. You'll get you a ring, but you won't lead the league in sacks. You won't be the best of the best of the best. But you'll have a chip, and you'll be happy, and you'll ride off into the sunset. So it's a give and take type of thing. And, I even go to Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald, to be great, he sacrificed his integrity, right, of the defense sometimes, where he'll be in the A gap and he knows, hey, I can go make a play if I jump to the C gap. He'll jump to the C gap. There'll be a gash in the middle of the defense, and they're running for 40 or 50 yards. And the next play, he'll force a fumble, So he's like, I can make up for it. So Jared Verse is a different player. And I think now that he's young, he's with Chris Shula, he can work with integrity. And I think that's what he's doing.
Yeah, all the more reason for Shula to stick around one more year, see the greatness of Jared Verse. Really, would you say, just yes or no? Is he playing a more disciplined Jared Verse? That is a more disciplined version of himself.
Yes, more disciplined. Yes.
Okay,
it might be boring. But discipline is boring.
Hey, if it gets the job done, everybody's playing for a ring. So it's super interesting that they got one of the cheapest defenses in the league right now, about to get a lot more expensive when Kobe Turner and Byron Young, and then Puka's got to get paid too. But we got to get you out of here. So everybody out there, I appreciate you tuning in, coming back to the LAFB Network Rams show here for sure. Thanks for tuning in. As always, we will check you next time, whenever that is, after the game. We're going live after the game with Aaron Coscarelli. There it is. The game's tonight.
Yeah. Couple hours.
Ramley, thank you so much for hanging out with us and watching the Rams LAFB show. Quickly before you go, got to tell you about our friends over at Sleeper. It's the #1 sports app right now, and you've got to download it because it's got so many great features that I want to tell you about. Aside from season-long fantasy, which is the best in the business, they've also got live score trackers, in-game updates, plus the live chat where you can actually communicate with other users right on the app. But perhaps the best feature, at least that I like, is the daily fantasy feature or the live pick'em. Just pick 2 to 8 players across any sport, baseball, basketball, hockey, obviously football and our Rams. You're going to choose a player, just choose more or less. Matthew Stafford, more or less passing yards. Kyron Williams, more or less rushing yards, more or less touchdowns. 2 to 8, you can win real money. So when you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code RAMSLAFB, and Sleeper's going to give you a match bonus up to $100. So you deposit $100, they're going to give you $100 free. You're now sitting at $200. You put in $10, they're going to match you $10. You're now sitting at $20. But on top of that, right now, Sleeper is offering all new user signups a $20 free entry, no deposit required. Go sign up. You're automatically invested $20 straight from Sleeper. But you can stack that offer with that match bonus offer to add more money. Just make sure to use that promo code RAMSLAFB. Go check out Sleeper. Download it today. Tell them the guys at the Rams LAFB sent you. And as always, Ramley, thank you so much for making us a part of your day.